Today, we dive into the tragic events of May 5th, 2009, just before 3 a.m., when the Coleman family's seemingly idyllic existence was shattered within the confines of their own home. Chris Coleman and his wife, Sherri, first met during their service in the military, where Sherri was immediately captivated by Chris's presence. Their union swiftly led to the anticipation of their first child, Garrett, and they exchanged vows before his arrival, much to the joy of Chris's father, Ronald Coleman. With the birth of their second son, Gavin, their family grew, filled with laughter and cherished memories. After transitioning from military life, the Colemans settled in Waterloo, Illinois, where Chris secured a position in security management at Evangel Estate, linked with Joyce Meyer's ministry. Despite the financial stability, Chris's frequent absences due to his job left a void in the family dynamic, especially felt by Sherri and their sons. The strain on their marriage worsened as Sherri struggled with managing the household alone, and Chris faced threats directed at Joyce Meyer's ministry. Despite increased security measures, the threats persisted, culminating in an ominous letter warning of impending danger. Chris, disturbed by the letter, reviewed surveillance footage captured by their security cameras, revealing a mysterious silhouette. This discovery reignited fear for the family's safety, prompting increased police involvement led by Detective Justin Barlow, who lived nearby and took a personal interest in the case. On the morning of May 5th, 2009, Chris left for the gym at 5:45 a.m. Upon attempting to call home an hour later, he received no answer, a chilling prelude to the tragedy that would soon unfold. Alarmed by the lack of response, Chris contacted his neighbor, Detective Justin Barlow, at 6:45 a.m. Chris explained that he had left home around 5:30 a.m. for the gym in St. Louis County. While exercising, he attempted to reach Sherri's phone but received no answer, raising his concern. Chris asked Detective Barlow to check on Sherri and their sons. Detective Barlow gathered his essential items, including his weapon, handcuffs, flashlight, and radio, preparing to secure the Coleman residence. With the goal of ensuring everyone's safety, he approached the door with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. Knocking firmly, Detective Barlow hoped for a response, but was met with silence. The darkness inside and lack of movement heightened his unease. Shortly after his arrival, another officer joined him, and they proceeded to investigate. Upon reaching the rear of the house, the second officer discovered signs of forced entry into the basement, raising concerns for the occupants' safety. The decision was made to enter through the basement, where they found a disconnected video cable indicating tampering. As they ascended to the main level, the officers detected the strong smell of aerosol spray paint, which grew stronger as they approached. Upon reaching the upper floor, they encountered hate-filled messages spray-painted on the walls. When Chris returned home from the gym, Detective Barlow instructed him to wait outside while they conducted a search. Chris complied silently as a third officer arrived to assist. Together, they continued their search, uncovering more disturbing messages. Entering Garrett's bedroom, Detective Barlow discovered the oldest son seemingly asleep. However, upon closer examination, it became evident that Garrett had been murdered, sending shockwaves through the detective's mind. In the next room, the second officer entered to check on Gavin, only to find him deceased, bearing ligature marks around his neck, indicating strangulation, much like his brother Garrett. The killer had left an obscene message spray-painted on the bedsheets, adding to the horror of the scene. Entering the master bedroom, the third officer was met with a disturbing sight. Sherri, also deceased like her sons, lay across the bed, her features obscured by her hair. It was evident she had been murdered, as indicated by the bruises on her body, suggesting a struggle to defend herself and her sons. After Detective Justin Barlow and the officers discovered the bodies, Chris arrived at the house, unaware of the severity of the situation. Detective Barlow had to deliver the devastating news that his entire family had been murdered, which overwhelmed Chris. Taking Chris outside to give him some privacy, Detective Barlow was struck by Chris's emotional collapse as the reality sank in. Chris, unable to contain his emotions, curled up in a fetal position, grappling with the shock of the situation. Unable to comprehend the violent loss of his family, Chris reached out to his father, Ronald, in despair, informing him of the tragedy. Ronald, stunned by the news, struggled to come to terms with the horrific events. The news of the murders spread quickly throughout the Waterloo, Illinois community, leaving neighbors devastated and fearful. The Colemans, once seen as a perfect family, were now victims of a brutal crime, shaking the community to its core. Taken to the police station for questioning, Chris expressed regret for leaving his wife and sons alone at home. However, Detective Barlow noticed several suspicious behaviors during the interview, including Chris's lack of curiosity about the details of the murders and his attempts to conceal scratches on his arms, raising concerns about his involvement in the crime. When questioned about the scratches on his arms, Chris explained that they were from installing a satellite dish the previous day. Despite adamantly denying any extramarital relationship during his interview at the police department, Chris eventually admitted to a close friendship with Tara Lintz, a cocktail waitress and high school acquaintance of his wife's residing in Florida. Chris confessed that his wife wouldn't have approved of their conversations, but insisted he had no intention of leaving her for Tara, asserting his loyalty to his family. However, a different narrative surfaced when detectives contacted Tara. According to her, she and Chris had been involved in an affair since November 28th, supported by extensive evidence retrieved from Tara's phone and laptop, including emails, explicit media, and a detailed schedule of their encounters. Further investigation unveiled that Chris and Tara arranged clandestine meetings at locations where he worked for Joyce Meyer, often traveling together to destinations like Hawaii. Chris, however, downplayed the seriousness of their relationship, refuting it as an affair, despite Tara's belief that he intended to leave his family for her. Chris's father, Ronald, was shocked by news of the affair, but staunchly defended his son's character, denying any connection between Chris's infidelity and the murders of his family. Detectives considered Chris's affair a strong motive for the crime, yet lacked sufficient evidence to charge him. After hours of questioning, Chris left the police department without charges, while Tara Lintz was briefly considered a suspect until her alibi was confirmed. The murders of the Coleman family triggered an extensive investigation involving a task force of 25 detectives working tirelessly for 15 days, scrutinizing threatening emails received by Joyce Meyer Ministries and analyzing forensic evidence, including the spray-painted messages found at the crime scene, which were determined to match Chris's handwriting. Chemical analysis of the spray paint linked Chris to its purchase before the murders, while the timeline of events implicated him further, contradicting his initial claims of his whereabouts. 2 weeks after the discovery of the bodies, Chris was arrested and charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. During his trial, Chris maintained his innocence, alleging an unknown intruder committed the crimes. However, he was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without parole. In memory of Sherri, Garrett, and Gavin, their loved ones raised funds for victims of domestic violence, honoring their legacy and advocating for a cause close to their hearts. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by the darker side of human nature and intrigued by the mysteries surrounding crime and murder, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on the latest chilling cases and gripping investigations. Remember, the truth is often stranger than fiction, and there's always more to uncover. Stay curious, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.